with a guy. Hey, I'm Justin the Guy on Shop Talk Tuesday, and yes, it is Christmas Eve. Why am I doing this? Well, just because, don't want to break tradition, and thank you for joining me. If you're watching this on the replay, you're gonna get some really cool insights on a couple bikes that I'm featuring today. In addition to, we'll do some little bit of shop talk as well. Let me take a look and make sure everything's working fine. Okay, so yes, Christmas Eve, everybody. I know everybody out there does not celebrate Christmas, but happy holidays. And Christmas Eve is one of those things where bike shops are usually dead slow. Reason being is they already bought their big gifts, but a lot of times bike shops will hold on to those bikes for those Christmas surprise. So that's the only time we have a few pick up during Christmas Eve. I remember back in the day, Barker Bikes, that we would have bows on all the bikes, and we were only open a few hours on Christmas Eve. So lo and behold, today was just in Walmart to go get supplies, and I'll feature that here in a second. I learned something new. Wanted to give it a try. But yeah, busier now. And I am one of those that procrastinates to the afternoon of Christmas. Yeah, lucky me. I know what I'm gonna be doing this afternoon, so thank you for hanging out. All right, so I'm piled up here with some bikes. We're gonna dive right into this. If you have any questions, jibber jabber, talk to yourselves, talk to me, what have you, join in on the chat. I'm going to feature this Klien Additude, one of four bikes I'm going to be showing. And I'm going to be kind of go over the overview of what the current project is in my shop. And it sounds like a doozy, and it's a lot of pieces in play. But eventually it's kind of like you robbing Peter to pay Paul to swap out this, to swap out that, to make something of it. Out of the four bikes, I'm hoping to get one to its closest vintage condition, and the rest of them I'm basically going to sell off the frame and fork and so forth. So hopefully you can hear me okay. Hopefully I'm not echoey. I did some adjustments before. Give me a thumbs up or a heart or something like that. If it sounds good, looks good, we're just gonna go forward. Let me know if there's any adjustments that need to be done, because I want you to get the full benefit of seeing what the hell I'm doing. We're gonna be moving the camera around a little bit today. And in that process, we're gonna be showing and featuring a couple tools. And it's all about don't lose your head over headsets. All right, got a couple chimes in. All right, Stefan, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you for being a new one. About all things happening in the cycling industry. Yeah, the cycling industry is a hot mess, so there's going to be a lot of talk about that from not just me, but pretty much every clickbait social media influencer out there. Yeah, just a regular guy, but if I find interesting to hear what is happening, that inspire. Or hemisphere? Yeah, cycling industry is not alone in this whole hot mess. It's pretty much any outdoor wrecks with a lot of other companies. But the bike industry is something I obviously focus on because I'm from bike shops for the last 35 years. I started off in the Parker Bikes days to now I have my own garage shop. In my garage, literally, essentially I'm a full bike shop, licensed, insured, website, all 9 yards, as everything in a bike shop would be, but everything's appointment based, so it makes it a little bit easier on me and a little bit nicer. I'm not going to get rich by doing this, but it is a passion piece, so it's kind of like one step into retirement-ish, or a couple toes. My wife won't let me retire, and she's a lot younger than me, so it's going to be, I'm going to be doing this for a while, so don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. Hey, Joe O's in the house. How's it going in Northern? Oh, the great white north. Yeah, I saw your last video about the cap thing. Didn't get the chance to chime in. If you're watching this, check out Joe O's channel. It's cool. It's just a dude in Canada doing his thing. And I'm inspired by you wanting to ride in the cold. I'm kind of a wimp compared to you. But he also makes handmade wooden paddles, which I love woodworking too. I just don't have a channel or time to do it. But in any case, we're going to talk about this Klien. We're going to talk about another Klien. And we're going to talk about a Bontrager. Not just Bontrager parts. This is actually a steel-built Bontrager frame in Santa Cruz. And also behind me is a classic Trek 970 steel, all 26-inch wheels. So I'm going to go over a little tidbit here of what the hell am I doing, right? Okay, so Joe, feel free to throw in the chat your channel. I mean, they can figure out your channel, but your channel handle and all that. Yeah, absolutely. Share because you have some cool stuff. So I bought this Additude. There's a little story, and we're going to go over that a little bit. I saw this frame on Facebook Marketplace. God, I got to try it. I want to maybe get back into mountain biking, that kind of thing. So I bought this frame. Well, I bought the bike, but I swapped out parts, and I went and made it a one by. Just, I got to try it, right? And then I found some carbon bars and stems. I decked it out, but the fork was bad and original. I'm like, man, I don't, should I just throw speed springs in it? What can I do with this old Manitou, whatever? Shelved it. Never rode it once off-road. So busy doing other kind of riding, more recreational bike path, gravel riding, and it's been sitting in my basement for over 3 years. It needs to be used. It needs some life. Well, I want to take the parts off of this and put it on my roll, which is, I'm going to update my roll. And the fork I need to swap out with another fork. And then basically I'm just going to clean up this frame, do the detail job like I've done a lot of them, put a nice fork on there with a nice headset. We'll go that in a second. And then sell that frame and fork for somebody that's inspiring for a 20-inch frame, 26-incher with a nice fork, with a nice headset. I'm not looking to make a lot of money off it. I'm just basically trying to clear out all this. I mean, 4 frames and bikes is just a clutter in a small garage shop. I need to clear this out. It needs to find homes and do something great. So yeah, we want some super detailing. It's a pretty blue, multi-tone. If you don't know about Klien, Gary Klien was an engineer from MIT in the 80s. Had a facility, started building bikes in the late 80s, early 90s in Chehalis, Washington, which is right down the street from Boeing, where they're getting Boeing aircraft aluminum. He was engineer which developed what's called granulate tube process. If I remember the Kool-Aid right, they draw the tubing and they can draw multiple wall thicknesses by a certain oil bath system. I'm not really sure if I'm right about that or wrong, but there is a whole bunch of verbiage on it about his granite tube process, precision, whatever. This one was made in Chehalis, Washington. So he did really good in he liked mountain bikes, got into the mountain bikes in the 90s. So making frames, and it's all by the engineer perspective, not a race perspective. And then he had some troubles along with a lot of other companies in the mountain bike industries in the mid 90s. They're starting to drop like flies. Trek, on the other hand, was starting to build up a facility big enough in Waterloo, Wisconsin, to mass produce more bikes than what they can sell. So they started buying up some brands, according to John Bradley. You can watch that video of mine in my library. Anything with John Bradley in it. I need to get my laptop back up. Okay, there we go. So you can see your comments. All right. Art, thank you for joining us from Brewers, Washington. Is that Washington State? Or Washington. In any case, so there's a lot of people saying, the pre-Kliens are the better Kliens and whatever makes you feel better about yourself. But I can tell you for a fact, being a Trek dealer, not seeing Klien until after they were acquisitioned by Trek and actually put it into our stores, we saw a lot of cool iterations with the whole Trek line as well as Klien being brought in, which carried both. And prior to that, Trek was bombing everything. So what they did is higher grade welds, so a lot smoother. This is called the K-grade or head tube, which is flared out. So it's supposed to be a little bit lighter, stronger, stiffer, all that kinds of things. Same thing with you don't see, the tube looks the same all the way in the down tubes and seat tubes, but the actually wall thickness has changed, where you call it double butted, triple butted, quadruple butted, multi-affinity butting. And on the back, you'll see a square chainstays come out of the bottom bracket. And what that is doing is actually making it stiffer, like aluminum needs being stiffer, but it stiffens up the bike where your acceleration goes in the back. Also, he had a really crazy idea of doing reverse dropout. So the rear wheel dropout comes in from the back instead of your traditional, which is supposed to force more energy into your drive force so you actually accelerate the bike a little bit better. Kliens you saw on Race Market back in the 90s, and they, depending on the racer, of course, but they were winning and got a name out, especially the acquisition of Trek. Trek gave him money to do his thing. Can't combat that. There's some really cool stuff that came out of it. He rolled with Trek for almost a decade, and then he just is done. About 2007 or 8 was the last production run of Kliens. And he did dabble into carbon. I think the last 1 or 2 years they had a couple carbon road bikes. They were known, I rode a couple of the aluminum road. They're fast, they're not forgiving, they drive like a Ferrari. Really, I'd say twitchy. Good experience to have, but not my age frame. If you're gonna get into racing and starting off, get one of those things, you'll be like a friggin' rocket, and your body doesn't hurt as much as I do after a ride. But lo and behold, what we got going on. So we got a Klien here, and I got another Klien. We're gonna pop this around like a magic show. Boom. Oh, look at there. It's a Dep Pro full suspension Klien, a couple years older, but it has, or newer, and it has a keg-rated head tube, granite tube process. This is probably made in the same era as that frame there, actually, believe it or not, but pretty close. So, but you look at this. That's a beautiful Fox fork float with a Chris King headset. Pulling these guys to put it on that. So that's what we're going to be featuring today. See if I could do it without cutting my fingers off or using the improper tools or what have you. Reason being is this frame, when I got it, or bike I got it, was complete. On the chainstay, I noticed there was like, I was cleaning it and it was like some kind of buildup. Somebody put Bondo on it. I'm like, what the hell? I pick away the Bondo. The carbon's actually been shaved off by the chain rings of what crankset it was originally on there. Don't feel safe selling it as that. So parted it out, got my money out of the wheels and parts, but I had the headset and the fork. I'm like, I'm gonna do something cool with those. I'm like, oh, I gotta put it on that. This has been like 2 years ago. So here we are finally getting to this project. Anyway, finally got the tools too to do it proper. That's another thing too. So we're gonna be still on the headset, the Chris King headset, 1/8", put it on that guy, as well as the fork. And that will be a great, awesome frame and fork. Other parts I'll probably get rid of. I had a guy ping me, and if you're seeing this, I haven't gotten back to you yet. Sorry about the slow emails. It's freaking crazy holidays. He has the same frame, and he's looking for a shock that fit that pitch and design. Also have pivots, wash and so forth. You can probably sell it all, $100, whatever, 50. Make me a deal. 2 clients going to work on both at the same time. Yeah, just 1 client at a time. Yeah, well, I only work on 1 bike at a time, but I have 2 bikes in motion, and it doesn't stop there. Yeah, so I probably should have stopped there, but in my intro. Then recently I acquired this guy. Oh, it's a Bontrager Priviteer steel made in Santa Cruz, California. Yeah, it's been ridden a lot. The forks are kind of blown out, but lucky for me, I have fork bits in here as a match to fix up that fork, hopefully. That'll be a whole different video. But I'm gonna steal parts off of this guy and just sell the frame and fork as well. I know, it sounds like you're just selling frames and forks. Well, in this kind of environment, as well, we're talking our market environment. The used market has taken a huge dive, as well as the whole industry. Therefore, we are actually in a place where if you can't make enough on it as a full bike, you part it out. There lies, I'm gonna take some of the shifters, X-ray shifters, old school there. And this is where I'm going to do the full bike. A classic Trek, United States made, single track series, 970. True temper, right? No, yeah, true temper, OX, chromoly tubing. This guy, see the vintage, same fork. I'm going to take the bits off the first Klien, the wheels, and take the brakes off of the Bontrager and the levers off the Bontrager. Basically, it's all pretty close to the same vintage, and make this a complete bike. Not all today. This is going to be a multi-day project. So there lies the whole story. So essentially, parting out the frame, and this is going to become, I don't know, toilet paper holder, lamp, something like that at some point. The other Klien is actually going to be a good frame and fork for somebody to do a rockin' retro build, whatever they want to do on it. And other Bontrager is going to be the same. Bontrager frames have a good resale value in the used market. A fork. Then we're going to get that classic 970 up to speed. So I'm going to pull a couple of these away, and then we're going to start popping this apart. And then we're going to pull out the other Klien and start installing the headset. Got some of the right tools. Headset press. There's one expensive, very expensive tool that Mr. Bradley himself has lent me. Also a cone extractor, or not cone, cup extractor. So that, you know, it's going to be a little hammer time. Get my little parachute pants on. Then we're going to do a trick where I saw from something sauce channel. I can't remember. Oh, where's that other tool? I need it. May have to hold on to that one. We'll have to see. Then we need to take the crown off of the fork and no, we don't need to take the crown off the fork because we're keeping the crown. Interesting. But anyway, I got most of the tools. We're good. You know, I'm gonna put a couple of these aside so we're not interfering with my project of 2 Kliens. So take a look at the pretty Klien hanging there. And these are the 2 colors that are not, I wouldn't say, the best colors that Klien produce. I mean, they're good. They're good quality, but not the most popular. Ooh. Yeah, crazy, crazy stuff. All right. Yeah, I did a whole bunch of rearranging my shop, so we were good. More space. It was driving me crazy. I just had to take a day and just start cleaning. All right, who's Mark? Thank you for joining us. Another great episode watching from Sin City, Nevada. Yeah, Las Vegas. We actually have a condo there, so you see me very periodically there. We're going to go there after New Year's and spend a couple days before the kiddo goes back to school. All right, Brad, thanks for joining us. Those 3 catcher bar ends were huge back in the day, and use them some of those. Yeah, bar ends. Yeah, the old school bar ends. Yeah. You know, mountain biking, you always wanted another hand position. I don't know why they ever lost their popularity, but hey. All right. Back to Mara, what happened with the ponytail? I cut my hair like 3 months ago. I was getting too confused of being the bike farmer, even though I completely sound differently and my background's different, whatever. He and I have similar but not the same channel. And I got tired of long hair. So yeah, it went short. And it's probably gonna get short again here soon due to the fact I just need to get a haircut. Yeah, that's, it was not technically a trademark of mine. Anyway, therefore, and I donated my hair. It got long enough, I donated. I stopped cutting it because of COVID, you know. And then my daughter, she was growing up, and I was afraid to cut it or she'd freak out and would not recognize me, so I did not cut it for even longer. And then I'm like, okay, at this point, I'm just driving me crazy, and I decided to have it cut. All right, Dan from Daytona, Ohio. All right, thanks for joining us, everyone. So first stage is popping this off. Okay, so we're gonna get a little bit closer so you guys could actually see. Sorry, it's not in high def, but That's what you have to deal with live. I'm looking at other services, streaming services like StreamYard or something like that to start providing a little bit better quality videos, but for right now. So this does, first you need to remove the gesture cap off of this to access or have it slide out. Then the lock bolts and the stem. Sometimes these are hard. All right. And the adjuster cap sometimes gets wedged in there when these things get tightened down. Man, whoever did this one was just tough. So it's all of a sudden, whoo, those are already loose. Okay. That's supposed to slide off. Spelunking for parts. So Chris King has our own little Chris King A headset cap. So we'll definitely want to put that on there. They come in multiple, they came in multiple colors. This is more of a, I don't know if it's faded. It doesn't look faded, it's more like a purple. So I'm going to take the spacers off. And most of these headsets will have a wedge piece. And when you take these off, you want to make sure you put it, lay it out in order so you know what you did to yourself to put it back. And then this little wedge piece, this is a different design from Chris King, but it's supposed to, it has a seal on there to prevent it from doing this on you and jam your freaking foot. A little dirty inside, obviously, but these are cartridge bearings. These are where the cartridge bearings became a huge hit back in the 90s. His stuff was the shizzle, still is, and now the industry has gone to all cartridge bearings for headsets and all that now. So he was ahead of his time. Before that was all loose ball bearings. And lose your head. Just the headset alone, and this can probably sell for $100, 50, $100 on eBay. So, but I want to incorporate it with the frame to make it super swank and sell the frame and the Fox float. The only drawback is for me is I don't have the tooling to do any suspension really, so I'm not going to really overhaul the fork. It seems to be in good shape. You'd have to get some retro pieces and so forth. There are some shop companies out there, but since it is in still good shape and actually cycles and does its thing and it does lock out, I'm just, hope for the best. That's what it's going to warrant. It's going to reflect in the price. Let's just put it that way. But at least you have good bones for a fork. Most likely somebody's going to buy that and be like, I want something else. Whatever. That's why I at least give it a good value to it. And hey, if I don't sell it, well, I'll just build it up at a later date. You never know, right? Okay, so I don't have to remove the crown race on this because I'm swapping it over, and this is what they call the crown race. This is like where the bearings will pop in on. But if I would have remembered that I didn't need to do that, I would have not have gone to Wally World and got razor blades because I ran out of razor blades. There's a trick on using these guys, and not to hurt yourself, but to leverage that to pop that off. I'll do it on another fork since I don't need to do this one. Just to show you. It was a pretty cool trick. So I wanted to share, show and tell. Welcome Michael from the UK, from across the pond, if I'm saying that correctly. Yeah, thanks for joining us. And if you just joined us, I'm featuring a couple of Kliens that I'm doing a headset fork swap on. Has my feature bike for today with my stand. And then we will talk about Christmas stuff and whatever. So how these guys go in, it slides up and it gets the lip on the inside. You don't have to buy this tool. You can find a cheaper one on, it's a pretty simple tool. For the longest time, I used to have just a copper or a brass, I think it was copper, like an old pipe. And I'd just go in and the copper was soft enough that it wouldn't damage the aluminum cups and it just would tap down to pop it out. This is the correct tool. This it distributes the pressure. And what you do is you pull this up without trying to knock yourself out slowly. Then you'll hear it click like that. That means it's gone over that lip. Tighten everything down so you don't lose your tension. Brace the frame, and here's some noise. Light tapping. This is when you have a padded floor, which really helps. I went to Harbor Freight a few years back, bought those little padded things, thinking they'd last maybe a year. And hole. They've lasted for like 3 years. Best investment ever. Is now during the summertime I can wear flip-flops and it has that extra cushion. So I don't have to, you know, I've been working on concrete floors for better half of 3 decades, 4 almost, and concrete is just shit on your knees. So yeah, having padded, I come out here with nice goofy shoes. It's all about comfort, and it helps dampening any stuff that falls from getting either damage on concrete or like this. You don't want to ding your Chris King headset cup, lower cup. And yeah, you don't want to put the King upside down, which I've seen in some of those bikes out there. So pay attention to detail, people. Bearing on this is so smooth, buttery smooth. So just going to clean that off. Then to do the other one, you just reverse the process. Go the other direction. And, oh, went too far. You want it to catch, sometimes there'll be a lip where it's bonded frame. You don't want to be smashing your frame. You want to make sure you get the lip of the bottom of the cup race, which is, or the race itself is this piece here. And you slide that down until you hear it. Bing, then you're good to go. Hold your tool. Let it tapping. Almost there. There we go. Headset removed. All right, so here we go. Happy holidays to everybody. Hope you guys are having a good time, regardless of whatever holiday you're supporting. Hope you have some good time off with family. That's really what it's about, right? We're gonna have some time with family tomorrow, which is good. Today we're gonna do the frantic, let's go to Walmart and buy a whole bunch of short-term gifts for people. I mean, my mom and my aunt, those are really the two I have to buy for that, or not my daughter. We already got her. Of course, we made it super special. But, you know, you with old parents, what do? You buy them lottery tickets and a blanket. That's about, I mean, they have all the stuff. They really don't use any other stuff. Kind of, you know, you're not going to buy them a bike because they don't ride. I wish I did, but they're just aged. They're getting older. That's how it is. Just about having a good experience and feeding them some good food and cookies. All right, so there's your top cup, bearing integrated. You can pop these, tap the bearings out. There's like little specialty tools from Chris King, but you can work around that if need be. Super sickly smooth. That's what we're known about. They're like super cool. So we're done with this frame for that because we're still in the headset and the fork. But I wonder if I can get you to see inside that tube, it's flanged out, flared out. I mean, that's the attention to detail that Klien was doing to every part of the bike. Supposed to lighten it up and make it stiffer, blah, 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 blah. Whole bunch of Kool-Aid. So I'll set that aside. I set it over here so I don't hurt myself tripping on it. And whoever that guy was looking for, that's this rear shock, more than happy to hook them up. All right, so I'm gonna tighten down my clamp. So yeah, I still have a whole bunch of junk on this, which means, you know, other bike parts. So we're gonna take that off real quick. And we're just gonna focus on installing the headset, but I need to remove the wheel. Quick release, lower your tabs, take the wheel. That wheel's going on to the 720. The V-brakes are gonna go back into stock. We'll just pop these off so we're out of the way. I was thinking at some point I'd do disc on this. I got some disc adapter and couldn't really get it to work. So I kind of just lost my steam on it. On that full suspension one, if I don't end up selling this rear shock on it, what I was thinking about doing is getting maybe a 27B fork, suspension fork, and make it a full suspension little gravel bike. Put some drops on it. You know, when I have spare time, which is never. So taking the brakes off, These are linear pole V-brakes, predecessors to the, you know what. And internal cabling on this, okay. I've sold several just the frames of the Kliens before. And if you have a Klien, if you're taking it apart, you want to be very mindful of pulling those cables out, especially the brake cable. The brake cable had a sleeve in the back that was pounded in, not at the manufacturer, but at the bike shop. When we got these, there was this little grommet that we'd have to tap in to hold. It was a cable housing stop. Well, you pound that in, right? It's tap, 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 it goes in. But to get a cable back through there, there's supposed to be sleeves in there, but over a couple decades, those sleeves are sure to be gone. So what you do is when you pull this out, you either put a sleeve in there that's skinny enough to go through that port for the housing or for the cable, or you leave the cable in there. And you basically have the cable, you cut both ends with a good foot on both sides or a couple inches on both sides, and crimp it with some end caps, making sure that cable doesn't slide out. And then when you get a new, well, you get the bike like that, you put the sleeve over that part so you can thread in a new cable. Once that cable drops in there, you're totally effed, because you'll have to tap out somehow that little grommet that I just showed you, thread the cable through, and by then, you're already chipping up that frame. Had to do it a couple times, it sucks. So don't do that. The bottom are not so bad because it slides out and you can do a magnet to get them through, but the brakes on these, and not just the mountain, it's on the road, all those vintage of that part. That was kind of the Achilles heel of the technical aspect of the Klien frames, was the damn brake cables. In any case, off my soapbox, back to taking this apart. Alrighty, so kind of have to do the reverse or the same thing that we did on the other one. If you're just joining me now, we are swapping out forks because I'm going to be selling this frame with a Fox fork and with a Chris King headset. So I'd figure, yeah, why not? So I found these, these are extra bits. I probably will keep them for something. These are all little carbon bits. Maybe I'll sell them. I don't know. You take the adjuster cap off. Oh, this one had the small bolts. Okay. Yeah. All right. This one I had to find a bolt to put in there. It was missing. Bontrager on the later end had XXX carbon stuff, which is pretty nice. All right, that comes off. Set that aside. Then you have your spacers, right? Set those. And this will have a little bit of a wedge to hold it so it doesn't drop out on your foot, which is this little guy. This is what you'll typically see, is these guys with a cutted slot. That prevents it from doing this. This is what they call a loose, well, it's not a loose bearing, it's caged bearing headset. We'll show that here in a little bit. I'm going to show you how to remove a crown race. And that's the head race. Depending if the quality of it's still okay, I will save this for, back stock, just in case you need another headset. So what you do is you get the ball bearings out there, so it's just the cups, and then you do the cup extractor tool. This one's the Park TR-1, and there's one for a 1-inch headsets, and there you go, get it to click. That's the bottom. Set those aside, push this down until it clicks. There we go, make sure it's flushed up on the bottom of that cup. Here we're gonna oh boy, that's tight. That's what he said. All right, there we go. All right. Gar, thank you. Thank you for joining us. All right. Collect my parts. All right, so one headset's over there, another one's on this side. All right, and Always inspect and clean. Oh man, it still has the beautiful milling on the inside. Oh, not milling, but drawn out. You just see, it's just the craftsmanship when you take these Kliens apart and you see inside. The bottom brackets are the same way. The cartridge is still in there. So the bottom bracket, it's a shell like this, but on the bottom. Well, what they did there on the Kliens is you have the threads, and where the threads stopped going in is dipped down. It took away even a little more material on the inside. Attention to detail like that was mind-blowing at the time. Kool-Aid driven. So when you had a Klien and a Trek and a Specialized and a Gary Fisher, they all had their own little Kool-Aid bottles that you can give to the customer. But really, as a bike shop, you're going, what size do I have that fits you in the budget you're trying to look for? That's the true story on that. As long as you're having a great time, sure, it's cool. Anyway. All right, so that's cleaned up, and now we're going to use the headset press. And shout out to John Bradley for lending me this tool. He's also lent me a whole campy kit tools that we're going to be featuring in the next few months. I was thinking about extending my tool wall to support those. Still on debate on that. But we want to give a nice little coating of grease underneath. This is how this tool works. So it slides off the bottom, got the bottom piece, and make sure your Chris King is on the right side up. And it should fit in the tapered portion. That smashes down. If you don't want that piece, technically old school, we would just use the flush because we didn't have the tapered pieces at the time. And you do your other piece like so. This is pressing in, or you can flip, or they can just go directly onto, actually I think I'm gonna go that route because it fits this better and it's more flush in the bottom. I don't know if I want to put a lot of stress on that bearing. So we're gonna take the adjuster pieces out for other sizes. Yeah, that fits in there just nice. It's like it was meant to be. Then you scoot that out to the top. Slide this. And this is the attention to detail. Where's the Kings gonna be? Front and back? Side to side? Think front. Talking about the logoing on this. You want it to be precise, details, right? That's how you tell, like, when you're like fixing the flat and you put your valve core by the labeling, or at least by the air pressure. Attention to detail. Yeah, bike shops that do that. It's attention to detail. It kind of shows that you know what the hell you're doing, ish, and you're trying to get it close to where it's going to notch. So I have that much gap to work with, so I'm just going to try to line that up. Eyeball it. This is where you need that laser thing. And then you just start to tighten this down until it fits in that. Make sure it's flush, both the front, bottom, and top. Okay, looks good. And you tighten the little guy down till they're flush, both the top and the bottom. Not too terrible. You don't want to crack your head tube. Just enough to make sure it's flush on both sides. Then you back it off, drop the base, slide it out. Headset cups installed. So if it's not a Chris King press fit bearing jibber jabber, then you'll have just the cups, and like you saw in the other one, you'd have to put the ball bearing cages back on there. Preferably new or clean cages with fresh grease. So it's all about fresh grease. On these, you technically don't need grease, but you technically want grease on there because you want to have that waterproof barrier to add to the X seals. And headsets can be notoriously known to get stuff drain from the stem in there, and especially if it's indoor training, you got sweat, which is ammonia, which is a rusting nightmare. Yeah. Put a little grease on there. And now, since I'm just going to put the other stem on there, I'm going to steal this stem. I'm not going to sell it with a carbon stem. Just put a Bontrager stem on there. Maybe I have a different one. We'll see. Or just sell it as is. And this slides back up. Then, remember I had that Chris King with the seal on there. Slide that over. No, that's kind of a little short. This is where you could have a problem. Is you want to have enough lip for the headset to go down. So this is a pretty short steer tube. So I might have to rethink this. So maybe just selling the frame as it is. Because I thought the steer tube with this fork was a little bit longer. But this leaves it to be kind of short. So we will re-debate that in my head over nights or what have you. But let me tighten this down. See if I need a spacer anyway. No, not really. I mean, technically you could go with this. It is shorter. There's extensions. There are extensions like these guys. These deltas are recalled, by the way. I haven't made a video yet on them, but I'm going to. But there's different things you can do to save that short steer tube. But we'll see. We'll see with this one. Typically you want a little bit of a space in there. But essentially you want to get a little more height. But if you did have that height with the spacers, according to adjust, you know, compression wise, this is adjustable one. These are the lock nuts on the sides here. There you go. That's how you install. Take one fork off and install onto another. All right, I'm going to take a little side note on this fork and show you a trick. It's weird. A trick. Get my chat up. Then once you're done with tools, you put them away. All right, well, I'm putting this away. Let's see if there's anybody out. Hey, Joe. Thanks for chiming in. Oh, you want to find a big, hey, Joe wants to find a big Sur frame. Yeah. 25 years ago, that'd be like around 2000. Yeah, they're pretty sweet. You know, hardtail frame. Those were, did they make those out of steel or were those aluminum? I think they were aluminum. So, all right. Oh, I don't have a place for that yet. But at least a hammer. Oh, I'll need a hammer. Okay. So we played with that. Take care of those other parts later. I saw this little trick of taking the crown race off. And a crown race, fork crown race tool is expensive from Park. You can find a cheaper version on Amazon. Sure, yeah. But this is what I just saw, and this came from a guy, he's an engineer. It's a good idea. So you take your bearings off, clean it, see if you can see what I'm doing. All right, actually I'm going to do a close-up. So I'm going to move my camera off my tripod onto my bench, tripod. So you guys see what I'm doing here. So I can see what I'm doing here. All right. Oop. Got you all tilted. All right. So actually, hold the phone. I'm going to move my, I have to have my laptop so I can actually see your comments, because when it's on the phone, it's like too small for me to read. Being old and junk, my eyes are not as great. There we go. We'll be resuming over here anyway. So I just want to show this real quick. This quinkadink, great idea. Should have thought of it myself, but you know, whatever. Takes a village. Idea is razor blades. Carpenter razor blades. Oh yeah, that needs to go on the fork. Okay. So you'll need a handful of these. Does this thing slide up? Does it slide up? Slide down? Up, down, otherwise? I don't know. Seems like it was installed backwards. Anyway. So you need a few of these. Come on. The idea is you're going to be doing the wedge system with, it basically is the same idea as what the Park tool is and the Amazon knockoffs are, but you're using multiple, and you need about a few of these. The guy that showed the video is about 8 of them. I'm going to just try maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6. This is going to damage those blades. Keep a note. You can still use the pointy pieces. You'll see why. Okay, so the idea is like the Park tool one, slides in right in that area. So you want to clean it. And the Park tool one is basically 2 of these razor blades, but bigger, more flanged out, and they wedge right in here. Then it has like a press that presses this off. But what he is doing is you take this razor blade, like you see here, and you tap it down. And it fits in. And you do another one. Then he flipped it over and proceeded the other direction. 1 or 2 at a time, because the thickness tolerances of this are pretty thin. And is it moving at all? Wow. I don't know. You have to hit it harder. There we go. Oh, there we go. Felt it kind of tapped through. Granted, this fork has been, this crown race has been on this fork for probably 20 years. So, not expecting it to pop off easily. Being stubborn. So the idea is to go back and forth until that lips up. Since this does have a lip that sticks out. Now let's talk about the flush ones. When it has a lip like this, you can take your old school punch and just tap it this way. And these are pretty stout. So when you're talking about those dainty alloy ones of the new, you might want to, the razor blade would probably be the best way to go. Yeah, see, it's starting to come out. Which you may have to use a punch like this to get to it. So using a punch on those other ones, you see how thick this is? The newer ones are like thin and alloy, and that gives you, and these are press fit. So they really haven't modernized the tech on this. But you know, the bearing ones now just fit, you know, the cartridge bearings just fit right on top of the newer ones. So this is where you got that crown race, which is dirty with ball bearings. Also with ball bearing ones, especially the bottoms where all the gunk comes in, gets in there. So the razor blade trick is not the greatest on this one. So give that a thumbs down. Going back to the old school punch, man. But yeah, what he used these razor blades for is like the fancier, looks like 1.25 inches. Bringing back that 1.25 inches. or headset, which Klien and Gary Fisher were doing back in the day. Sorry. So when you clean these guys off, especially with cage bearings or loose bearings, what you're looking for is this race and making sure it's not pitted. Pitted means those ball bearings, because it doesn't roll, doesn't spin all the time. It's just in the same position. It will indent into this race, which will cause what they call notching when you're moving your handlebars. That's where the cartridge bearings that became so darn popular and great, is you don't have that problem. And I can kind of see some of the ball bearings kind of scarring a little bit, but you want this to be shiny and smooth all the way around, both the race and the cups, making sure those are not compromised. The thing is a safety deal. That headset's not adjusted correctly and loosens up while you're riding. After high descent or fast descents, you'll get an oscillation. It'll start shimmering, and you're going to go off the road and crash. So that's when you want to make sure you double check those cups and cones before you repack them, that kind of thing. Woo! That was fun. Might be still reusing that. In any case. All right, let's jibber jabber about what's going on in the latest industry. Shop talk. Talking about shop stuff. And you're gonna get check out my new little setup. Got it all pretty in the corner. This is part of that revamping. You know, you just like, this corner is collecting gunk. Whole bunch of junk, which was mostly, what was it? Cardboard boxes and little display, and that's where I was putting my bikes. And it's kind of cool because you can see my bikes is about ready to go work on soon, that kind of thing. Let's see if I can get this to tilt correctly. Anyway, there we go. And you get to see my table. Well, actually, you should get a little more pan out. Let's pull this out and show you. So this table, you have not noticed before, decorations, it's a bike underneath the table, welded up with stools, have crank and pedals on them, all welded so they're, you know, seated, that kind of thing. So picked that up locally from a couple that had it. They're very avid cyclists, and they had grandkids, and they were like, we need to rethink this. Anyway, all right, here we are, coming up on 2025, and since I do have you guys here, do a little brain trust questions, Q&A. Here we go. I think I have enough light. This is the garage. My garage door is open. All right. What did I, hey Joe, yeah. What did I do with the corner of my shop? This is my little jibber jabber studio now. So yeah, let me lower that camera so I don't feel like you're looking down on me. Yeah, we don't want that. Don't want that. Let's lower you down. There you go. And you notice that Klien in the corner? I'm kind of doing the play of Seinfeld. Anybody watch Seinfeld? You know, that green Klien in the back corner? That's what I'm doing. That's going to be my feature corner. Some bikes, they'll swap out with different bikes. If you ever get sponsored or promoted, that's where a banner can go, what have you. Yeah, I needed this table. It's big. It's 7 feet long, cumbersome, kind of heavy. I had it over towards the garage door and I had to move it out of the way all the time when you get the car in. We have 2 EVs, so I have to get the cars in to charge them. And I still need a space to do fittings. That's where I do my fittings. So there lies the issue. And I'm like, I needed like more of a space. And I'm working on a bike and I'm looking over in the corner like, that could be the space. So this time of year in any bike shop, including mine, when it's slow, which I have not been this slow, I decided to cut into it because it's just driving me crazy. Corners are horrible for any shop, any retail, all that. I had a supervisor once working at Performance Bike. This puts you back in the day. What was his name? Mark or Bill? I don't know, whatever. Doesn't matter now. Tom. His name was Tom. And he came in, nice guy, but he walked straight to the corners of the store because that's where all the shit collected, any retail. So when you look at the collecting crap on the corners, you guessed it, that's where you got like strikes during the walk of the store. Well, you know, looking at my corners like, okay, sometimes corners shift over to the other corners, so just playing like the shell game of crap. Then I proceeded to go down the line, moving my ultrasonic cleaner away from me, put it next to the sink so it's not like ringing in my ears. And it's a little more, you know, rinse all the parts, so it's a little more efficient. Let's go with that. And then I cleared out all that crap in that corner, so it's a little bit more easier to assess. It's just one of those things you don't know until you, and that's where I was like, oh God, I got 4 bikes here. I need to figure out what the hell to do with. And that's where we came today. So cheers. Happy holidays. Thank you for hanging out with me in the garage. And we're going to talk about probably the latest topics. I mean, the last topic piece, I didn't really do a topic piece this week due to the fact I didn't run out of time. And I wanted to feature one of the bikes I tuned up, which is that 2300. Pretty cool clean up, restoring. It's just awesome. Check out the video. It's not too long. It's pretty slick. Trek 2300. But anyway. Performance peep. You know, I think if you're in the cycling industry long enough in the 90s and the early 2000s, everybody spent a month or 2 working at Performance until they found another job, a better one, or not as struck. I mean, it's fine. Not to, I don't know. It's coming from a mom and pop shop, it's hard to go into corporate. When I went into Big 5 Sporting Goods, which also was a corporate chain location, I didn't have any emotional attachments to the cycling community like I did with going into Performance. If I went into Performance now, it'd be a little bit of a different vibe, but anyway, or a different feel. But in any case, that's nor here nor there. Anyway. Yeah, the 2300 was fun. So that basically, then I spent like 2 days just doing all this, and I just took apart a display and put up some wood panel. This is wood panel. It's not real. It looks great. Anything, and you know, some art that I had been just sitting around that I needed to put up, and also was gifted from John Bradley. That guy. This was from my mother-in-law. That one's from my wife, and that's an old school Parker Bikes banner. And over here is your traditional Bontrager, with also gifted by John Bradley. This is Bontrager. Cozy, what do they call that? It was just like a mid-90s event, like at Keith's house, and they had like all these Bontragers he built up and all that. It's a cool poster. Haven't seen it in years. He had it rolled up. Like, here, you can have this. But anyway, need to do a little bit of decorating, a little more professional prop. Therefore, welcome to the studio. Yeah, my shop is becoming more of a studio, which is fine. That's actually a direction I kind of want to go because only so many bikes I can work on a month to pay the bills. Thank you for watching me on YouTube. This makes it happen. And do a little sidebar to support channels like mine as well as other YouTube channels. They sometimes have affiliate links below. Once you go through that affiliate link, especially from Amazon, there's a cookie trail. You don't have to buy the stuff that they have specifically. If you buy other stuff, we get credit for. Also have a sell shelf, which means for like t-shirts like this and other designs, you can put on coffee cups, all that kinds of stuff. I get a little kickback. Those are 2 things that creators will make a little bit of money on, and they don't have to do anything. Like there's no more effort putting into it once it's all set up. So therefore, That's a helpful bit. I did though on my Amazon store that I have. It's linked below. I decided to do the weekly sales of items I see on Amazon that relate to bike shop world that might be intriguing to purchase because they're on sale. So it's like the weekly sales. So I figured I'd help that, help you with your journey. If you see something out there like ultrasonic cleaner, you're like, okay, I want one of those. I'll have one listed. Then you can kind of go down that rabbit hole and see what else they have and what kind of prices and figure that out. In any case, that's the kind of things that supports the channels without having to spend any money, really, except for, you spend money on your other stuff like toiletries or whatever on Amazon. And the spreadshirt thing or the shop shirt thing, I figure that's like you get something and I get something. And the company in Las Vegas, actually that spreadshirt company is based out of Las Vegas. So they do all the heat transfers and all that for the logos, and yeah, it's really cool because you can redesign it. I think you can add your own stuff to it, so you can put this on the image and your shop or whatever team club ride on, like after event shirts and so forth. They don't have cycling apparel yet, and I say yet because Vistaprint is starting to do shirts too. And I'm trying to leverage one of the clothing manufacturers like Primal or somebody like that to do print on demand. So we can upload our images and team stuff, and as you can go in and pick out what works for you. Because cycling clothing is just expensive and weird, and what you need to wear. If you never bought it before, you don't know what you're getting yourself into, and why does it feel like a diaper, all those kinds of things. But in any case, totally sidebar on there. But in any case, thank you for hanging out with me. That what makes this channel anyway. Just watch my stuff, really. I mean, just watch my stuff. It's cool. Share it, that kind of thing. So I want to be positive, of course, but it's really hard to do that with the cycling industry just kind of falling apart, which is kind of done to themselves, perfect circumstances. However you feel about it, that's where it is right now. Can't not say about that. But the positive wins, what I've seen so far with a particular change with the industry is it's really helping the independent bike shops leverage their independence again from these big brands. When I'm talking about big brands, the big 3 or 4, or more than that, really kind of to be a dealer, they dictate how many units you're supposed to carry, how much you're supposed to buy in a year, what discounts you get with the volume that you purchase, all those things, right? And they would leverage it to the point where if you had like one of the big brands, they would say you have to have 80 to 90% on your sales floor. You're only allowed to have possibly 10 to 15% of another brand, and it can't be another big brand will not go in there. But back in the days of the Parker Bikes 90s days, you can carry Specialized, you can carry Trek, you can carry Giant, and you just would tell them, I'm just going to do what I need to do. Because at that point, they were trying to open the market. And when they got so big, they just, they dominated everything. I think we're going to be in a full circle, which is going to be really good for the independent bike shops that really leverage 2 major things, which they probably already have, and better look into it, and maybe a third, to bring in those customers. Because there was a big, I would say, catastrophic error in the early 2000s where Trek and Specialized developed concept stores and forced a lot of these shops to become concept stores. Lee Cyclery is one of those. We became the Trek concept store of the area. Our competition became the Specialized concept store. We both at the time carried both and Trek and Specialized. Then they divvied it up. They're like the beginning of the end of what's happening to the Trek and Specialized in the stores now, because you got this high-end, non-comfortable environments. It's more like walking in a Porsche dealership, knowing damn well you're not going to be able to buy a Porsche, right? And you walk in, all you see is your $5,000 bikes. Okay, so you have independent bike shops, which somehow didn't get bought up, or they're too little to buy, or whatever, didn't want to sell the truck or specialize or whatever. If they're still around or still doing other things, there's two things that are going to help these shops go forward. And no, it's not YouTube. It might, but it's not YouTube. For me, it has been. I'll go into that in a second. But that's a very positive note. One is, the obvious part is all these people bought bikes from COVID. Either bought the $5,000 bikes or whatever a couple years ago or a year ago because the prices are all super cheap. And all of a sudden, the market stopped. Nobody's really buying the big ticket items anymore. And the entry level is still a little bit there, but they're priced out. So the first part of the success of the bike shops going into 2025 and the next 3 to 5 years is service. Service needs to have the warm hug, like don't nickel and dime them on every little thing. Like, oh, you bringing it for the tune-up? We'll cover all this other little stuff. We won't do another 10 bucks for this, 5 bucks for that, whatever. Tone that down. Like you have a special on your tune-ups, which they will be in January for most shops. It's in the colder environment up north, like Joe. We're going to be heavily discounting our tune-ups to get people to bring in repairs for us to work on in the wintertime. Don't nickel and dime them on top of that. I worked in a shop once in Michigan, and it was horrible in the sense that, oh, you have a tune-up, but oh, you do need a new chain. So we're going to have to charge you for a new chain and the labor on installing that new chain. But it should be included with the tune-up, as you saw in their eyes, and you're like, but this is what they're forcing to do. They're nickel and diming all of that, and with them shop fees and what have you too. Those practices need to be cut. They need to be like, you got a tune-up, here's some parts, warm hug, we'll get you in, add a little fitting to it, like a little static fitting like I do here, which is so beneficial because majority of those bikes, either they bought them new or used, never been fitted to a bike. And if you just do a couple little adjustments to give them the best experience possible on that ride, they're going to remember that. And guess what? They're going to bring that bike back to you, or another one that they have and that needs to be cleaned up, or another one behind that, or they may see something on the floor they may want to buy. It's getting them into the shop. Even though mine's appointment based, guess what? I sold a bike because they brought in their second repairing, and the wife's like, I want to look at that. So therefore, I think it's going to be the success of service is one. And what I just alluded to, the second part is used. I'm going to make a video on bike, just talking to bike shops directly and saying, if you haven't done used, you better start thinking about it, because there's so much benefit of repurposing, redoing used to provide used bikes on your sales floor. And there's ways of doing it that's very effective and fast and profitable, but also on the flip side, provide a good entry level or lower price points for people getting into cycling or getting their next level bike. Also, you're keeping those bikes from going in the landfill. In addition to that, keeps your team busy, service as well as salespeople, to move those bikes. We need to cultivate that entry-level rider again. And where we're going to do that? At your local bike shops. It's not going to be at the truck and specialized stores. Not all whatsoever. It's going to be at the independent bike shops that have a warm hug service, warm hug used, and go, hey, we can get you into riding. We're not snobbish here. This is a 10-year-old bike. Great. Go ride. Have a good time. I mean, it's all about is having fun. Because that is, honestly, the 95% of the market is really just recreational riders like you and me. Just want to go on a bike and have a good time and maybe tinker on a few of them and make it easy to work on or easier to work on and all those kinds of things. That 5% elitist market is dwindling because that 5% has already been beat to death with sell prices of the high-end bikes. You think anybody's going to buy another $10,000 bike anytime soon if they just did last year? Nope. That's a big, hard no. So they basically snuffed themselves out. They're going to have to figure out what the hell they're going to do, which is going to be weird in the next couple of years, and we're going to be watching it unfold in front of us. But the independent bike shops, if they do the service and used market right, and used parts, let's add that to that list too. Used parts, like I had to strip down a couple bikes to make another one or whatever. You have those extra parts, you can sell those. Used market, you can sell them online without any dealer agreement being violated, which they shouldn't be anymore because everybody's down to direct to consumer. So, but in any case, you want to be able to leverage those used parts, good, used, refurbished parts. There's companies that do them already. They've been doing it for a while. What I've seen so far in the comments and the videos that I've released in the last month or so, some of the shops have had the best year ever. How in the hell is that happening? Two things, service and used. And one shop, that's all they do is service and used, and they're having the best year ever. When you buy into brands, you are drinking their Kool-Aid. Number one is kind of hard. Second, you're tying up a whole bunch of money, and you're really investing in that brand to hopefully carry you. They're supposed to take care of you, which they don't take care of you like they should. Therefore, here we are in our circumstances today. You're going to have a whole bunch of truck and specialized stores where a lot of them will be liquidated down or closed due to the fact there's not enough market or traffic to support that market. These companies are hurting badly. Let's not talk about them. Let's talk about the independent. Independent bike shops, they might be having a little rough go. I know a few in my local area are kind of having a little tough time, but if they do their marketing right, if they do the services right, if they do the used, bring in used, and bring in used, like if you carry Trek, bring in some Trek bikes that are used. Put them right next to the Treks. Like I got this Trek road bike. That's an older 5200. I'm selling for $800. Right next to the $1,500 to $2,000 new Trek, which is not carbon, which is not Ultegra 105 componentry. It may have, does it really have more gears? They've actually taken away gears. So, and is it lighter? No. Does it perform better? Not really. Is it more aerodynamic? Sure. But who the hell? I'm not aerodynamic. So why does that matter? For us regular, common individuals that are riding recreationally, that $800, $700, $800 refurbished, used 2500 Trek from 20 years ago is going to do you more than just fine. In any case. So there's my soapbox of helping bike shops, leveraging used, leveraging service. With conjunction of those, you may sell a lot of more accessories. And on top of that, because those new entry-level riders don't have all the stuff. They don't have the helmets, the gloves, the saddles, the shorts and all that. The $10,000 bike purchase, that's all they're buying is the 10 grand bike. They're not buying anything else from your shop, maybe a tube. But other than that, they're walking right out. And you're only making 20% margin on the money that you swap for another company to make more money than that, which is just baffling. So you're going to see a lot of bike shops go back to the mom and pop shops in the 90s where we carried multiple brands, and these brands are not going to be Trek Specialized Giant. They're going to be like Kona, Jamis, Fuji, maybe Giant, because apparently Giant's supposedly really friendly now to bike shops, and let you do what you want to do in your niche and order what you want to order or need to order for your client customer base, because you can't put a full suspension shop in a flat city, urban city. I mean, you can try, but it doesn't work. I mean, where most of your money needs to go into where your investment could be returned on. It's basic business, right? So bike shops need to be no longer listening or drinking the Kool-Aid of corporations, which they're not going to. This turned right after COVID, right during COVID. There's some of those shops that are like, you don't have bikes? Okay, I'm gonna pick up every dealer that I can agreement to bring in any bikes. I mean, I know some shops, these are bigger shops I'm talking about, but they're big shops, and they're the ones that carry Trek and Specialized, and I can tell them both to go jump off a bridge. And they were like, I'm bringing in every brand possible. Now they're scaling back because they don't need that many brands, but they're going to get to a point. It's like, well, what's the kind of brands that are really going to support the shops? Well, there's smaller companies that are still fighting for that small percentage, are going to be a little more forgiving on what you need to carry and pricing. So as a business person, you're going to go that direction. And it's going to be, you know, on demand. Less, shrink down, more efficient shops, which you're going to see. What you see on mine. I mean, my shop has definitely gone that direction. So in any case, not to sound like too much soap opera, but that is the the silver lining and the beautiful part of this, which is kind of, I mean, I don't like seeing companies go under and so forth. There's a lot of hardships, a lot of people good people that work for those companies and so forth. I don't want that to happen, but what's really happening is going to cause the floration or the cultivation of the culture of cycling bike shops again, like good ones, like people that really are passionate about it, people that are really in it for taking care of their community, cycling community, not just making another company a whole bunch of money. So therefore, I think we're going to have a whole flip. And these shops that, if there are still around, they're going to have opportunities to cultivate. Those customers are still there. They're just not buying high-end stuff. They're going into, they're going into Walmart. They're going to or buying online. They're buying bikes and they're having them, guess what, serviced and tuned up at shops because they don't want to do it or can't do it themselves. Or they're learning how to do it themselves because, you know what? YouTube has a whole bunch of videos of people working on bikes. Right? So in any case, it's going to be a great insurgence of awesome bike shops coming up. Anybody that's new in the cycling world that's opened up a shop, they got some learning. It's going to be kind of a little rough and a lot of changes. Go Guava is a good example of that. What they thought his shop was going to be is definitely turned out to be a different shop than it is now, and only 9 months into it or 10 months into being in business. It's kind of one of those things like, I didn't expect I'll be doing this. And case in point, this is what I'm doing here on YouTube, is something I did not expect I would be doing 2 years ago at all. So I love doing it. Don't get me wrong whatsoever. This is great. This is totally awesome. I found my people. I found my crew that likes to watch me do what I do in the garage, and that's growing, and companies are reaching out like, hey, we think you're pretty cool, you know, we're going to check out this product for us or whatever. That's starting to happen, and you know, it's like it's fun and new, but I'm still providing that service of showing you how to work on older stuff, providing this opportunity to buy something used and get it fixed up either by yourself or a shop and have an awesome ride. And then you could afford to have multiple rides for different parts of the week, right? I mean, I'm sure Joe up in Canada has like 5 different bikes, and he's probably riding his fat bike right now, trying to keep warm, and it's a slow roll, but you actually can roll over the snow. It's Colorado, not so much here. The wide tires, but the fat bikes are not up in the mountains, yes, but down in the Front Range, not so much. It's what is it, 45, going to be 50 today. I mean, that's Fahrenheit. And we're going into Christmas, which we're supposed to have a white Christmas. We don't really have that many white Christmases here, but in any case, there lies, your market, your area, and your bikes. So we'll be talking about that. And I'm hoping to have a video ready to go out tomorrow that will kind of show the channels that I watch or have watched or keep an eye on to do this journey all together. So hopefully you guys get something out of that too. In any case, yeah, I think I need to go shopping, Christmas shopping now. Hopefully you got some good insights on how to take an old school 1/8" headset, loose bearing, cup set, Chris King, on and off of a bike, and the tools that you would need to acquire or modify or fabricate, that's a good word, to do so. And yeah, hopefully I'll get these up and going within the next week or two. It might take me longer, holidays and such. But in any case, I really appreciate all of you watching my channel and it takes you to make this, and much appreciated. But on that note, we'll, I don't know how this turns on. Have a Christmas cactus day with a polar bear. I don't know, where's the button? Oh, the batteries are dead. Oh, there's a handle one. Oh, they're both dead. Oh, wow. Maybe pinch here, try me. Oh, there we go. On that note, you guys have wonderful holidays. Thank you for hanging out with me in the garage. Hope you have a great time with your family. And I really hope you get a chance to go for a ride. I really hope I get a chance to go for a ride. Any case, thanks again. And until next time, if it's Tuesday, it's Shop Talk Tuesday.